NR Channel TV Virtual Studio Multi-Purpose. We provide virtual studio space for multi-purpose, talk show, news, online coaching and presentation, webinar, forum conference and more. With a professional worker and up-to-date visual graphics set and design, call us for more information.
Hello and good evening, Malaysia. With you tonight, Wafa Waleed, on a new segment called In Person. So for those who are watching, don't forget to share, like and follow our social media account at NR Channel TV. As we are trying to meet current demands, tonight we are introducing a new segment called In Person. This segment will provide a platform for us to exchange and share information regarding domestic as well as international affairs by featuring bright individuals in their respective fields. The purpose is to better suit the information to those who use English as their main language. Tonight, we are fetching a young people to talk about youth involvement in the world of politics. During this era of rapid advancement of knowledge, we're able to observe a changing of pattern in politics around the world as it followed the pursuit in leadership change. As I speak, the youth are ever growingly more involved in politics than what we're used to. Many instances of young people engaging their respective government's affair can be seen throughout the world due to the existence of social media that is just at your fingertip. In Malaysia, there are over 8,000 registered NGOs which consist of clubs and organizations that center around encouragement of youth involvement in politics. Beside the voluntary existence of this NGO, there even exists a model parliament in our nation which is a simulation of parliament proceedings. But instead of actual ministers expressing national issue, the proceedings are done by young people. Interesting, isn't it? However, there have been multiple riots and demonstrations and rallies wherein youth, alongside other age groups, gather to practice their right to freedom of speech, voicing out their concerns regarding issues. In Malaysia, plenty of demonstrations were held in the past few years, one of which was held by the Coalition of Youth Malaysia. More and more young people are aware of the ins and outs of politics, leaving it up to the government to suit their affairs according to the satisfaction of standard of the now ever-evolving public. So before that, let's watch this VT. So tonight, the very first segment of In Person, we have a brilliant young man, Zarif Arifin, the chairman of Yield, together with us tonight. Hi Zarif.
Hello,
How
Wafa.
are you?
I'm good. How are
How
you?
things are doing for you? Good,
Yeah, I'm doing
Alhamdulillah.
good. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Good to hear that, Alhamdulillah. So before we dive deeper into the context of our discussion tonight, youth involvement in politics. When you hear the word politics, what would be the first thing that cross your mind?
Alright. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, dear viewers. Thank you, Sister Wafa, for the wonderful introduction. A special thank to NR Channel TV for having me today. Well, when I hear the word politics, I hear the word people. When I hear the word politics, I hear the word serve. When I hear the word politics, I hear the word nation. So in my own definition, politics is all about serving the people, right?
Correct.
Serving the people with the power that you own from the people, by the way, to rebuild the nation together. So that is my personal definition of politics, right? So when you ask me what is the first thing that would cross my mind when I hear the word politics, I would think about the people, because without the people, there will be no nation. Without the people, there will be no leaders, and without the people, there will be no politics.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, indeed, you're serving the people.
Yeah.
So would you say you are actively involved in politics?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, during the state election, Johor state election, right, recently, I was heavily involved in campaigning for the candidate for N30 Paloh, Lee Ting Han. So now that he's won, I think we should call him YB Lee Ting Han. So even before that, I was involved in quite a high-level economic meeting between the Minister of Special Functions, the then Minister of Special Functions Part 1, and also the Euro Chambers of Commerce members. I was the secretariat of the meeting. Besides that, I also took the initiative to establish Yield as an organization with the purpose of being the bridge between the young people, the Malaysian youth, and also the Malaysian government. So whenever there is a critical issue that concern the youth, that should be discussed, that needs to be discussed with the higher ups, Yield would set these high-level meetings with the ministries and departments. Well, for example, when several student organizations asked for Yield's help to set a meeting with the Ministry of Higher Education, Yield took the initiative to do so, to set this meeting so that we can discuss what are the issues faced by the Malaysian students back then. And right now, I'm leading Yield, my organization, to develop young leaders in our countries through our educational and leadership programs. Yeah.
That is very impressive
Thank
for
you.
a 22-year-old man.
Thank you.
22, correct?
22, yeah.
Okay, amazing. So how would you say you're juggling both between your studies and also being actively involved in politics?
Well, I think it's not that hard as long as you are passionate about it. I think you can always do both. One of the tips that I can give to my peers is that you should always follow your dreams, follow your passion. That's number one. But you should never neglect your education. Education should be your number one priority, or at least that is what being lectured to me every single day by my parents, right? That's number one. Number two, you have to be smart. When you have nothing, you should always take the opportunities that come to you. Even if the opportunities don't come, you have to really seek for them yourselves, right? Attend political events, right? Build connections so that you will know a lot of people. When you know a lot of people, it will, ease everything for you in the future. That's number two. Thirdly would be, to manage your time very, very, very efficiently. Once you know how to manage your time, do the time allocation and whatnot, everything will run smoothly for you. I mean, your studies won't be affected, won't be jeopardized, and you can still follow your dreams at the same time. Yeah. So that is one of my tips.
Well, it might be hard to juggle both, but as long as we set our mind to it.
I mean, it's quite hard, but okay. That's
doable.
nice. Yeah.
Good.
Doable.
Good to hear that.
Yeah.
So, what was your perception before and after joining politics?
Well, to be frank, before I officially joined a political party, I think it is well known already, which is UMNO and BN.
Okay.
When I first joined UMNO back in 2019, I was not exposed thoroughly, I would say. You know, I thought that, politics is all about gaining the power, gaining the power during the election season. And then once you gain the power, you should serve the country as a minister or deputy minister. And then once, by the way, for a good 5 years, right? For good 5 years. Once the 5 years ended, you have to get re-elected again. You have to go through the same process, the democracy process, and then you will govern the country once again for the next 5 years. I thought that was it. I thought it was that simple, right? And to be honest, I thought it was really boring because BN was dominating at that time. We had not experienced a change of government at that point in time, right? So I think it was boring because my heart was not with BN yet.
Okay.
Right after I joined politics, right after I stepped in, I realized that it's a bit more difficult and complex than that, right? You have to know how to, manage your people. You have to know how to, gain the support of the voters in your constituency. You have to do a lot of work to gain their confidence. You have to be really, really careful when you want to, list down your manifesto. That is what happened to PH, by the way, right? When they listed down their manifesto with all the promises, kan? In Malay we call it bulan dan bintang, right?
Okay.
When they listed all the undoable promises and they could not fulfill all the promises, right? Then the rakyat would be mad. So we have to be careful on that. And then other than that, besides that, I think the grassroots support is crucial as well, right? You have to gain your grassroots support because without the grassroots hard work and effort, you wouldn't win. You would not gain the confidence of your voters in your respective constituency. So in simple words, before I joined, I thought it was easy and quite boring, right? Right after I stepped in, I think it is interesting, but a little bit more complex than that. Yeah.
Okay, I think I would say that I have the same perspective.
Yeah.
When we talk about politics, before I have a little bit insight, I wouldn't say that I know too much about politics now, but I have a little insight of it. So before I joined, I was like, it's all about becoming minister.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about.
I think we all have been there, right?
Yeah, there's like the young mindset.
Because we was not that exposed, and no one wanted to, give us the knowledge to be exposed.
Correct.
So I think that is it. Yeah.
So when I start to be more involved and see the world of politics in Malaysia, I would say that I kind of have a different perspective to it too.
Yeah.
All right.
Agree.
So, in the context of politics in Malaysia, like you said, you have been part of the politics, correct?
Yeah, quite.
Okay. Do you think that there are many youth that are currently actively involved in politics?
To be honest, yes, we do have some people that have been advocating good practices in politics, such as services politics, policy making based off politics. I think that is positive, but I'm afraid we don't have that many who are really heavily involved in politics by joining a political party and whatnot, right? I think we don't have that many, and we have to birth a lot more youth leaders that can talk, that can advocate about politics in the future. I think that is that. So when we don't have that many, it's our responsibility, as a government, as an NGO, as a third party to develop these young talents so that, and also encourage them to join politics, because without these young talents, we won't have great and bright leaders in the future. I'm afraid that will happen if we let it be. Yeah.
I think it's we can see there's improvement of more youth are starting to join politics, but then again when they join politics, would
I
you
think
say
I know where you're going with this. Continue.
would you say they are blindly joining politics, or they have knowledge on politics, that is why they want to join politics?
Well, most of them, yes. Unfortunately, I can say this because a lot of my friends, tend to join rallies, riots because of the trend, because they have received a lot of shirts, so they wanted to wear the shirt, the black shirt. They wanted to be a part of the riot so that they can be on TV, on the news, something like that. Unfortunately, yes. I mean, it's positive to talk about it on your social media platforms, to tweet, to post on Facebook, on Twitter, and various other platforms. I think it's a good start, but it's very important to be knowledgeable at the same time and be matured when you want to be political, because without the right knowledge and maturity, you will be the same like other people. You will keep on attacking the personalities of certain public figures or political figures instead of focusing on what are their actions, right? What are the issues fought by them, something like that. I think, I think that is it. Yeah.
Were you invited before to join? You said your friends were planning to go to riots.
I was. To be really frank with you, I really wanted to join because I wanted to experience, to be a part of a big riot. Do you remember, the Black Flag riot? Okay. This is during the Tan Sri Muhyiddin's reign,
correct,
right? Administration,
Recently, it was a COVID-19 time.
Yeah, during MCO, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was back in 2020. No, 2021. I think so, if I'm not mistaken. I can't really recall. So when they invited me to join the rally, I was excited, to be honest. I wanted to wear all the black shirts, and I completely understand why they wanted to do so, because they were really frustrated. We were really frustrated that the Undi 18 bill had not been implemented by the previous government, led by Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, and also other youth-related issues. So, to be very frank, I wanted to join, but I changed my mind because I knew that even if we went on riot, right, we went on protest, we wouldn't get a positive, positive outcome, because the government at that time really did not care, in my personal opinion, did not care about our issues, because they were too focused on the political issues, political instability that were caused by themselves, right? So I think it was a waste of time, but I don't know, maybe, hopefully in the future I will join one, I don't know.
Okay. So between me and you, so if you were to go back to that particular time, would you join?
No, I think still because of the administration. They did not really want to listen to us, so what was the point, right? So better sit down at home, and enjoy your time at home. Okay,
so you as a youth, as a 20-year-old man, would you say you are full of knowledge when you join politics?
Well, I'm 22, by the way, but it's okay. Honest mistake. Am I that knowledgeable in terms of politics, right? I think I am knowledgeable enough to advocate the importance of politics among youth. I think that is very simple because I have been in politics since 2019, and in fact I have served my constituency in Sembrong, because I am also the Dewan Muda Malaysia member for Sembrong, and also the Pemuda UMNO member, for Sembrong, right? So I at least have some insights on the internal part of it. So I believe I have the knowledge to advocate to my friends, to my family members, to my peers in general. But if you ask me, am I ready to contest for important positions such as Ketua Pemuda UMNO Malaysia, for example, I'm not ready, because of the limited knowledge and experience that I have. I believe I have to be well experienced first, to go for all the big roles. Yeah.
Correct. Indeed, the experience is the best knowledge that one could receive.
Yes, correct.
So sometimes when we hear about those who more experienced in politics tell the young people, they are kind of questioning, aren't they too young to be in politics? Perhaps you could share a thought on this?
Well, I think that depends on the context that we are referring to, right?
Okay.
What do you mean by too young?
Too young, for example, students,
Students.
those who haven't completed their studies yet,
Yeah.
but actively involved in politics.
Well, if you are a 22-year-old and you want to be a minister, even the minister of sports, youth and sports, and I think that is too young, because you have to be really, really competent. You have to gain the experience first before taking up such a big role, right?
Okay.
But if you are 22 years old and you started to join a political party, you started to serve the people on behalf of your political party, you started to discuss about policies at the national level on behalf of your party, and then I think it's fine. It's never too young to to do that, to join politics at such a young age. In fact, I have a friend in Muda. She is only 19 years old this year, and she
Amazing.
is already appointed as the member of Central Committee of Muda.
Wow.
And
19
she's
years old.
19 years old. 19 years old. Can you imagine?
Impressive.
And she's doing quite a decent job advocating about education on behalf of her party.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, in UMNO, we don't have that yet, but I believe in the future, we will have some prominent figures, especially under the category of Undi 18, which means the voters age 18, 19 and 20 years old, right? So I believe that we will have that prominent figures in the future. I believe UMNO will birth a lot of
Inshallah, definitely.
young leaders in the future. Yeah.
Okay. So when you mentioned about youth joining politics,
Uh-huh.
the keyword that I think I received was competent.
Competent, yes.
So how could one be competent in advocating about politics?
I think it's subjective. As long as you have the heart, you have the knowledge, to advocate something that you are passionate about, I think that is sufficient enough. But that depends on the empowerment that you get, right? That depends on the empowerment that you received from your seniors, from your leaders. I think that is very important too, right? If you only have that knowledge, but you are not empowered enough by your superiors, then it will not run smoothly. Things will not go on your terms, right? So to be competent, first you have to gain experience. How? Just attend any political events and then build a connection. Don't afraid to ask questions, right? And just resumes to, I don't know, certain ministers that are willing to take you in as their officers and whatnot, right? Build your competency first, and then the opportunities will come to you.
As a youth myself, I'm one for the youth, one of the people who trying to sometimes advocate about politics, right? I think when it comes to asking questions, it's hard because I personally think that when we ask questions, sometimes they could judge us or think that what are they talking about? What do they want to know? They're still young to advocate. So I think that is probably the things that have been stopping the youth to ask more questions.
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think Said Sadiq cared when some leaders called him names, like a cat, like, Chuchu, grandchild, which I think it was quite insulting? Do you think he cared? No, he didn't care. He just ignored all the criticisms and all the insults and just get on with it, right? So we have to have that spirit. Same goes to some leaders in UMNO, like Sharif Hamdan and other prominent young leaders in UMNO. They didn't care. They kept on going because they believed in the philosophy. They believed that they could, bring changes to the future of our nation. Yeah.
But there are actually two ways of saying it.
Yeah.
We can ignore sometimes, but perhaps also
Election, right? So I think in terms of the pandemic and endemic, it doesn't concern the democracy process that is going on in our nation. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, like I said, when the Undi 18 bill has been implemented since Johor state election, um, there is a lot of political parties that um, have been open-minded. They are now open to nominating a lot more young candidates, especially in the last two state elections. Do you remember Malacca state election?
yeah.
If I'm
The
not
N one?
mistaken, we had 30 new faces, which means candidates under the age of 40 years old, which is young, 30. I think that is quite good, right?
For the start, yeah.
And then in Johor state election, we had 41 young candidates nominated by, several political parties. I think that is a good start. I think it's good to see, the process of democracy that have been disrupted by the Undi 18 bill. That is what I meant by disruption. Everything has disrupted. That is in terms of elections. Why don't we look at the political party itself? Like for example, UMNO. The president of UMNO appointed Shahril Hamdan, who is also the vice youth chief of Pemuda UMNO Malaysia, right? So the president of UMNO appointed Shahril Hamdan as the information chief, which I think is an appreciation to the young people, right, to the young leaders. And he was also appointed as the economic director at the Prime Minister office. A huge appreciation for the youngsters by the Prime Minister himself. So yeah, I think my answer would be yes, absolutely yes.
So
Yeah,
definitely motivates more youth to be part of
yeah, especially
politics.
a youth like me, right? So I have the aim, to go far in politics, but obviously I will need, certain people to be my role models, my idols, my mentors, to, you know, give me the future insights that I need to become one. Yeah,
So since you mentioned about Undi 18 before,
yeah,
so there's been questions that you can see on social media account whether the Undi 18 bill should be implemented or not.
yeah.
What was your perspective back then?
Back then,
Back then, it's implemented, has been implemented now anyway.
well, I agreed with the bill, which was first presented back in 2019, and it was passed in the parliament with the unanimous votes from the MPs across political parties, which I think is positive because it has been done in America and other foreign nations. So why not Malaysia, take the same step, to improve our democracy process? Because in my opinion, when at the age of 18 you can have your own driving license, you can get married, you should be responsible for your own crime, right? So why not you have the right to vote for your leaders, right, to represent you in the parliament, in the
Indeed.
state assembly, so that your issues could be raised more effectively by these leaders, right? So I think I agree with the implementation, to be honest. Yeah.
Good to know that.
Uh-huh.
So perhaps I could ask more personal questions.
Yeah, sure,
Let's get
go
to know
ahead.
you. Okay.
Why not?
So, all right. So you said that you joined politics, actively involved in politics
Yeah.
back in 2019. Correct
Back
me if
in
I'm wrong.
2019.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay.
correct.
So who, why, and what makes you want to join politics?
Who?
Who?
Well, on a personal level, it was my father because my father
Okay.
is also in politics. I have been exposed to politics, although I was not that interested, but I had been exposed to politics since I was 9. I was
That
9,
is
right?
very
Very,
young.
very young. right?
Yeah.
Back in 2009. I think that is how I slowly developed an interest in politics, right?
Okay.
But other than my father, of course, I have looked up to a lot of role models, mentors, such as Syaril Hamdan, Khairi Jamaluddin, at first Syed Saddiq, but now not anymore, because of certain issues
Understood.
arised, that have tainted his name in a way. Um, that is in terms of who, right? These people really encourage me to join politics, to be more involved in politics, right? In terms of why, I think this is a very interesting question, because the main reason why I decided to join politics, to join UMNO back in 2019, was because of the incompetency and the recklessness performed by the PH leaders, right?
Okay.
They kept on making policies that don't really appeal to the people. They kept on making reckless statements that really embarrass our country. Like, for example, I give you one example. The then Defense Minister Mat Sabu.
Okay.
Do you remember the elephant fight with elephant and the grass will suffer
Yeah,
remark?
I heard of
Yeah,
that.
the remark was made by Mat Sabu in an
Okay.
international defense conference. So
Yeah.
it showed that our leaders were not that competent, right? I mean, in my opinion, if you don't really want to speak in foreign languages, you can always use a translator. Please don't make such a foolish remark. Excuse me for my language, foolish remark, right? On a more serious note, again, Mat Sabu will be the best example. He once made a statement ridiculing our defense system, right? Condemning our defense system. I can't remember when, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019, right before I joined politics, right? He condemned our defense system, saying that, oh, our defense system was not that great. We are very, very weak. As the Minister of Defense, you can't do that. You never do that, because it will only invite terrorists and even foreign countries to take advantage of our weaknesses, right? Even worse, invade our country. Obviously, we don't want that. So I think that was the main reason why I decided to join politics. Well, other than that, I really love serving the people, right? In terms of charity, I developed, this interest in policy making back in 2020. That is why I decided to join Dewan Muda Malaysia and whatnot.
So you were part of Dewan Muda Malaysia before?
I am up until now. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
amazing. All right. So, and what makes you to join politics exactly?
Sorry.
What makes you want to join politics exactly? Like
Exactly.
the main point.
The main
Yeah.
reason,
The main reason.
like I said, because of the foolishness and recklessness portrayed by certain PH members, and of course, I wanted to, make a change, right? I wanted to make a change. I believed, and up until now, I believe that young people should be more involved and should be given more opportunities to lead. Don't hesitate or be afraid to, give us the opportunities to lead. Don't afraid to assign us important tasks or even important positions, because without those kind of encouragement and empowerment, we will never learn. We will never have the chance to prove ourselves to the world, right? Just give us the stage to shine, and we will shine. Believe me, we will shine.
With the right guidance.
Yes, with the right guidance, with the right with proper resources and guidance from our mentors and seniors. Yeah.
So you're already practicing politics again, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you describe the current political world in the context of Malaysia?
Current political world.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, in my opinion, the current political situation, especially in Malaysia, is very chaotic and toxic because of the political instability that we have been experiencing since 2020. And let me highlight this. The political instability that we are facing right now is because of PH government. Some might disagree with this statement of mine, saying that, oh, it was because of UMNO. Without Langkah Sheraton, political instability wouldn't happen. I think it's wrong. It all happens when some political leaders in PH started to brawl against each other, right? They fought against each other, because of certain issues, certain disagreements, especially on the transition, the leadership transition between Tun Dr. Mahathir and also Anwar Ibrahim. So that is how it all started. That is how the political instability started. And that is really frustrating, not only to the youngsters, but to Malaysians as a whole. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, after joining the politics, do you mind sharing your best experience, perhaps? After
My
joining
best
politics?
experience.
Yeah.
Well, this will take a while
This
because
might interest more youth to join politics.
so I have to be really, really, happy and excited.
Of course.
Well, this might take a while because there is a lot of experiences that I think really, made me happy. I think the best one would be when I was campaigning for BN in the Johor state election. You were
Recently.
there.
Okay.
You would feel the same thing, right? It was a great pleasure to campaign for YB Liting Han, who is now the current member, Johor Exco member.
Okay.
With the portfolio of managing the investment for the Johor state. It was a great pleasure and honor. I feel appreciated. I feel like I have contributed something to my party because the candidate that I campaigned for, has won, right? So I think that's a good start. Yeah. Thank you. Congrats to you too. You were a part of the team. Yeah.
Indeed. So, in this upcoming world, we want to see more youth, right?
Yeah.
So, how actually, in your opinion, how do we get youth to be more involved in politics?
Well, in my opinion, it can be done in various stages, but mainly two stages. One can be done by the government, where the government can revise its leadership programs such as Parlimen Belia Malaysia, Perdana Fellow, Corporate Fellow, and keep on improving the implementation of those programs, so that the country can be consistent in terms of developing young leaders and encouraging young leaders to take part in policy making. I think that's number one in terms of the government, right? Secondly, I think it's also important for the government to spend a lot more on marketing. We have to market this sort of leadership program so that there will be a lot more youth that can join these programs, and then they would develop interest to join politics in the future. We can start with advertising these programs at school, high school, because with the implementation of Undi 18, obviously, we will have a lot more young leaders under the age of 21, which means 18, 19, and 20 to vote for our country. So they will have that mindset to join politics, but they just don't know how. So I think that should be a way forward lah, not on behalf of the government, but from the government's perspective. Secondly, in terms of NGO, I think NGOs can do a lot of things, to speed up the process. For example, Yield, we are planning a few leadership programs and educational programs to advocate about good practices in politics. I think not only Yield, Undi 18 also has been doing the same thing, and they have been doing a great job in terms of coming up with several initiatives like My Hutan, Dewan Muda Malaysia, where they gathered 222 young leaders to represent
Impressive.
their respective constituencies. I think that is a good program. It is a 2-year program actually.
Okay.
So we are educated by certain prominent leaders and also policymakers. We are trained on how to develop a policy that will benefit the people as a whole. Yeah.
What is the age group that could join this Undi 18?
They even encourage, if I'm not mistaken, students at the age of 16.
Starting from
16, 17. Yeah.
So they will be training and polishing them
Yeah.
to be prepared for the real world politics.
Yes, not only
Impressive.
that, and they really encourage, a lot of groups. Like for example, the Malays, the Chinese, the Indians, they are really balanced in recruiting the members of Dewan Muda Malaysia, and I think that's great. That's a good start. Yeah.
So you mentioned about advocating in school.
Yeah.
There was a point back then, I think.
Yeah.
The government actually stopped student activism. What will you respond towards it?
I think it's the worst decision that the government has made. You know why? Because at this point in life, we want to get introduced to the political landscape, right? We are at the age of learning. We want to know more about politics. We want to be more involved in student activism, because as a student myself, right, once I have the insight and the opportunity to fight for my peers on several student issues, like for example the high fees charged during the MCO, right, the well-being of the students living on campus, and etc. I think this is when we want to contribute. I think it's not right to block our way to contribute to the society, especially to our peers, to the students themselves, because as a student we have felt, we have faced a lot of issues. So I think we should be given the opportunity to solve them, or at least give some opinions or solutions to overcome that issues. Yeah.
Amazing. Actually, it's a good opportunity if we could bring Undi 18 initiative to schools,
Yeah.
to let them start
Yeah.
enhancing themselves or before they start joining the real world politics.
Yeah.
So I could say that actually there are many youth interested in politics.
Yeah.
But if you see the social media, Twitter mostly,
Oh my
So-
god, social media again. Okay,
so most of them only talk, criticize the politics, but never really join politics.
Uh-huh.
In your opinion, why?
In my opinion, it's mainly because of the lack of encouragement and also exposure. I think encouragement and exposure are the two elements that are missing right there. Without encouragement and exposure, the youth can still be political, but the social media will be their only platform. They wouldn't have any other platforms, right? Because that is the easiest way to get your voice heard, by tweeting, by posting, about some issues related to the youth, especially on these various social media platforms, and that's it. That is why it's very important for our leaders to keep on encouraging, keep on giving us the stage to shine, the stage to share our thoughts, our viewpoints. I think it's very important to do that. That's number one. Number two, I think it's because of the party hopping and also unfulfilled promises issues, right? These two issues, I think, are the major ones that have affected the mindset of young people, right? Like for example, some of my friends think that, oh, why should I join politics? Because at the end of the day, you know, all these leaders will, you know, take advantage of their power. They will use their power against us. They will abuse their power against us, you know,
The part
stuff
of it.
like that. And that's the mindset, unfortunately. You know, it's very hard for a young leader, a small young leader like me to, you know, to correct that kind of mindset. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you see like people tweeting about it, posting
Yeah.
on Facebook,
Yeah.
do you think they're doing it because they truly understand what is going on, or they're only joining for the trend? I mean, you could see one people tweeted about it, and then suddenly the retweet goes out, and then why don't I give some input on it without actually
Well,
doing research about it?
if you are on Twitter, right? If you are an active tweeties, right? You will see the segment where, you know, all the hashtags will come out.
Okay.
You know, the viral topics that are being discussed by the Twitter users, right? So I think it's mainly because of trend, and also they just want to have fun, but it's not necessarily that. You know, some of the youth that are on Twitter really care about what is happening in our country. It's just that sometimes they do it sarcastically, and then they tend to, you know, attack the personalities, the personal issues of a certain political figure, instead of focusing on the issues themselves, right? Instead of focusing on the problems. And that is why I think they are not encouraged to provide solutions to those issues, to suggest, to provide critical feedbacks, opinions, and comments. Yeah.
So I think before we end our session, I would like to ask you one question.
Yeah.
What would be the message that you want to send to the youth out there, so that they would feel encouraged to be politically actively involved in the politic world?
Okay, first of all, you have to really know your passion. You have to first learn about your passion. Is this what you really want to do in the future? Do you really want to become a political figure or a political leader? Right? That's number one. Find yourself. Secondly, if you have decided to, you know, to be involved heavily in politics, you have to be proactive. You can't just wait for the opportunities to come to you. It will never happen, man. It will never happen. You should be proactive in, you know, seeking the opportunities yourself. You know, just attend all the political events yourself, build a strong connection, be consistent about it, and then conduct programs that will first obviously serve your audience. Secondly, that could build a name for yourself. That's number two. Number three, just don't forget your main purpose of joining politics. Your main purpose should be always to serve the people, and the people only. Don't abuse your power. Don't treat politics as a platform to make money. I think it's wrong. You have to always think about the people, and inshallah you will go far in this field. Yeah.
Thank you, Zarif, for the
Thank you.
message for the youth.
Thank you.
So that concludes our session tonight with this brilliant young man, Zarif, an enlightening one it sure was. We've discussed a lot about future plans on bringing more and more young people into politics, as well as personal endeavors of our respected guest in the pursuit of executing his own vision, and maybe soon we'll able to see his hope and future become a reality.
Thank you.
Hopefully, the viewers watching can learn a thing or two from this exchange of ours, knowing how imperative it is to be involved in politics, no matter your age group, race, or status. I'll end this on a note, a bit of advice per se. Spread your voice for you. Yes, every one of you who are part of something big. Our nation for our world depends on our next step. That is all for now. See you in the next session. Good night and stay safe, Malaysia.
Channel TV Virtual Studio Multi-Purpose. We provide virtual studio space for multi-purpose, talk show, news, online coaching and presentation, webinar, firm conference and more. With a professional worker and up-to-date visual graphics set and design, call us for more information.